Hello, hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mawusi Ragland. This is season two. What an exciting time today. I have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Nicole Stiopu, and she's going to share with you her story. She has a very powerful message and a very, very great story. And her message is adversity is the pressure to create diamonds, but you must cut them to make them shine. Welcome, Nicole. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
You are so welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show. You have a very powerful message as well as your story, Nicole. Tell us a little bit about your message.
Yeah, well, I went through quite a troubled time as a youth, and through that, I've taken what happened and I never let it break me. I let it bend me, but I never let it break me. And with that, I've used that as like the fuel to my fire and to allow me to, create a successful life for myself and my daughter. So I just want to share that with the world. I want to help inspire others to whatever they go through, use that as the fuel to your fire as well.
Yes. And to create diamonds
Create diamonds. Absolutely.
and
Everybody's a
shine.
diamond and you just got to shine.
And that is the truth. I love that. Nicole, I found your story so interesting because so many people today are facing this. Your story resonates with so many people in the world, Nicole. And because your story resonates with so many people can resonate with your story, I wanted you on our podcast because it will really help others to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of women and men find themselves going through this. If they're not going through it themselves, they know someone that they live with that are facing these type of situations that you have overcome.
Yeah.
And your story was that first one that just really touched my heart because the podcast is a self-help, very educational podcast,
Yeah.
and it's about people that has overcame adversity and now they're living the best life that they could possibly ever have once even thought about living. They're making it
Yeah.
happen. Yes.
And everybody deserves to live that beautiful life that they always dream of, right? And
Yes.
so I just hope that, this message does just that, helps people to just go for what they want.
Absolutely. And it will. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your childhood like, Nicole?
Yeah, so I born and raised in Canada, Calgary, Alberta to be exact. And I grew up in a single parent household. I have a brother and a sister, both older than me. My younger years, it was pretty playful. There was, I had a lot of family around me. However, as I got a little bit older, things started to shift a lot. When my mom had a boyfriend, we all moved in together, and I was about, I think it was like 7 or 8 at that time. And things were really well for the first little bit. It was really great to have this male figure in my life. However, this is around the time where I started just feeling kind of like outside of, I didn't really belong, right? My brother and my sister picked on me as, the youngest kid. And, as siblings, I get it, like that happens. However, that was just kind of like the start of the whole snowball effect, I guess, right? And so with my mom and her boyfriend, they eventually started drinking very consistently. And the emotions in the household were just, they were not well taken care of. I had no emotional support myself. And going through being a young child, you really need that emotional support in order to thrive. And so I found myself in a kind of like a dark hole. And at that time, I was so young, I had no idea what I was feeling. I had no idea kind of like how to manage it. And so it kind of helped, it kind of made me just go inwards, and it was not a great time. And then at that time I had experienced my first bout of bullying. This person was I was at the park, and they called me names, and it just totally broke me because I had never thought about myself in the way that they said it. And so I ran home and I tried to talk to my mom about it that night, and she's like, "Oh, it's fine, just ignore it," kind of thing, like, just brushing it off. And that's not what I needed at that time. I needed somebody to understand me and to help me get through that. So, the next day I phoned the kids helpline, and, I'm sure kids helpline is great, but at that time they told me, "Oh, did you talk to a parent about it?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And they're like, "Oh, well, you should go talk to them again," kind of thing. And that's again not what I needed. I needed somebody to understand me, to, I guess, console me even, to help me find a solution. But I just felt like I was being pushed away.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that really began that feeling of not belonging, or I guess it had already been started, but it really fed into that feeling of not belonging anywhere.
Right. Because you felt that your mother was emotionally detached.
Yeah.
And so then in schools, they tell us, hey, if you ever felt like you need to speak to somebody, a professional, and no one's around, you're not at school, call this number. You
Yeah.
call this other number trying to get some kind of emotional support. And they're saying, well, did you talk to your parents? Yes, but there's nothing there. Right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
then you have nobody that you can turn to, you felt like.
Exactly. Nobody.
So then how old were you at this age?
I was 9 years old at that time.
Right,
Yeah, so really just a young kid trying to live life and be happy. But
right.
after this incident, like it really, like I said, it really started that snowball effect of just not having any sort of connection to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So then after that, what started happening in your life?
I had a really tough time making friends. And after that year, I moved to another school, middle school. It was grade 5, and I started making some friends. It was really great. And I started to feel like I had like a group around me. It was awesome. Like I finally felt like, oh, I'm finally making friends. And then comes the time where my mom says, well, we have to up and move to a completely new city. And I'm like, excuse me, like I just started making these friends, and now we have to move halfway through the year to a brand new city that I've never been to even. Like it was really, really difficult. And then starting out in a brand new city, brand new school, having to make new friends again, really just set me back. All of the time that I spent trying to make friends,
Right.
it did not feel good. So then the last couple years of elementary school, it was grade 5 and 6 at this school. I did do my best to make friends, and I tried to feel connected to people, but I don't know, there was just something that made me feel like I was still outcast from everyone.
Right.
And I was still getting bullied all the time, as a chubbier kid. People didn't really want me to be around them. And so
And
it
that's how you
really,
felt.
yeah, that's how I felt. I don't know
Right.
if it was actually true, but that's how I felt.
Well, when that person said what he said when you were at the park, because the audience, they don't know what he said,
Yeah.
but it was along the lines of that.
Yeah. Can I say it?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, so at the park, I wasn't sure if I could swear, but yeah, so at the park the first time he called me a fat bitch. And so that's when I really started looking at myself and treating myself horribly, thinking of myself in that way. And before that time, I had never even thought of myself in that way. And
Right. You're just
so
a child.
just
You
a
don't even
kid.
know what that word means. What are you doing calling me that? You see?
Exactly.
Right. And that really affected you.
It did. And then it continued on throughout grade 5 and 6. And I mean, even in the years thereafter. But after grade 6, or during grade 6, I was watching TV and I found this camp called Camp Shane. It's in New York, and it was on the TLC network, and I begged and begged my mom and my stepdad to send me there.
Yeah.
And, for months I was begging them, just send me to this camp. I really want to go. I really want to lose weight. And so in between grade 6 and 7, I went to this camp, and it was 6 weeks in New York, all on my own. So
Wow.
it was a big, scary thing to just do it all on my own and be away from my family for that long. And so during that time, it was a
How old were
wonderful.
you at that time, Nicole?
I was 11.
Wow,
Yeah,
Nicole. That took a lot.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so the 6 weeks, it was beautiful. Like I met a lot of people from all around the world. I lost 25 pounds. I was ready to start junior high school in this new,
Yes.
fresh me.
Right. That's huge. Yes.
Yeah, so it was a beautiful summer, and I think back on that, and it really yeah, it was wonderful. But then, I get into grade 7, and I didn't uh fully heal myself throughout that. Like, yeah, I lost the weight, but there was no mental health, exploration or mental health healing that I did. So, you know, it didn't really work for me. And so, grade 7, I'm meeting new people. I have more freedom. I can go out to the convenience store at lunchtime, spend my money however I want. And so I'm, just going back right into the same habits. And at this time, I really started to idolize people who were older than me, grade 7, 8, 9, even people in high school. With my brother being in high school as well, I see his friends a lot, and I wanted to get to know them and not hang out with people my age. And that was a bad idea. That's when
Mm.
things really started going downhill.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So grade 7, I did my best, and I have always been a very smart person. And even during junior high, I was getting, honor roll type of grades. But then into grade 8, I was hanging out with some people, and I was introduced to drugs. And at this time, I didn't just go to the marijuana or cannabis, whatever you want to call it these days.
Right.
I went straight to ecstasy. And this was the start of my tumultuous, let's say, was it like 6 years of drug abuse and, putting myself in situations that were not necessary, or, that I could have avoided, essentially. So, starting with this ecstasy, it felt good. I felt alive. I felt like you know, I feel like I'm starting to meet people, like I'm starting to belong, and we're bonding on drugs, really. And as I was also working part-time, had a part-time job. And so I had money, and I was able to spend money on these things. So of course, when you have money, people are like, oh yeah, let's go do this together. And so they get to know me, and I'm spending money on drugs and partying with them. And it felt good at the time because, again, I finally felt like I found a circle of belonging. So throughout junior high and grade 8 and 9, I just continued on that road. I would even come to school and be high on ecstasy. I would leave at lunchtime to smoke weed and cigarettes, and I thought I was cool. And I would be going out the hallway throughout the halls, and people would look at me like, "Oh, are you high?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Isn't that cool?" kind of thing. But it's not cool. It's really not cool. I think back and I really could have done a lot better for myself. And I did have a lot of aspirations, even at that time, of, what I wanted to do with my life. And, but I just did not have the capacity to heal within because I didn't know how. And I didn't even know if there was anything wrong with me at that time.
You're
I mean,
just a kid.
just a kid,
You're just a kid,
exactly.
Nicole. Yeah, at that time you're just a kid. You were trying to belong. You were trying to fit in, and you discovered this, and it wasn't good, but you didn't know
Yeah.
any better. You had no one to turn to. You felt lonely. You felt like, and you were in this place where you felt alone all the time. And
Yeah.
so and you tried though, that was the thing, is that you went and did things that I wouldn't even have done. Can I go to New York and lose weight? What? That takes a lot. That takes
Yeah.
willpower, ambition, enthusiasm to do something to work on you. So you, an honor roll student, AB student, you have the smarts, you have everything, but you started introduced to a different crowd
Yeah.
and introduced to different new things.
Yeah.
And you tried them,
Exactly.
and then it took you into another place that you've never
Yeah.
been before, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So this is why that's why we're giving back, to
Yeah.
tell to let people, these are the signs, pay attention, mom and dad,
Yep.
grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, family members, and to youth, to you,
Yeah.
because everyone has experiences. People, if you are going through your own things as a parent, as a guardian, you have a child that's trying to do all these great things, but at the same time can't open up to you because you're going through
Yeah.
your own thing, your unresolved issues. You're not paying attention, or really what needs to, for you to really pay attention to that person in the home, that young person that needs you the most. You're overlooking them because you're so caught up in your own things that you haven't even resolved, that
Yeah.
you're facing. So you just slip right through the cracks. It wasn't,
Absolutely.
you see, it wasn't no one's fault, because everybody's facing it. Everybody's going through something. So
Yeah.
I mean, you were going through your own stuff. So now here you are introduced to this, and you're at this time, what, 12 years old,
Yeah, 12 years old.
in the seventh grade.
12 and 13. Yeah,
Yeah.
or sorry, eighth grade. Eighth and
Oh,
ninth
eighth grade
grade.
at
Yeah.
this time. See, middle
Yeah.
school. This is the time
Middle
that it all,
school.
right. Yeah, this is the time that
It
it all,
is, yeah,
yeah,
it's when it all starts. And I
yes.
if I can help mothers and parents and anybody out there, is to understand that when your child is, being reclusive and
Mm,
hiding out and not communicating, focus on the relationship between the two of you. And we can still be going through our own things. I mean, even for myself as a single parent, I have learned that the relationship between you and your child is so important. And when you're no good, your child is no good. But even when you are no good, if as long as you're working on yourself, you can still build a positive relationship with your child.
yes,
And I think that, sharing that love between each other is a absolute gift.
yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful, because you can grow
Thank you.
together.
Yeah.
You
I
go through, right, Nicole? You go through
absolutely.
the pain. You grow through the ugly together. You grow because you have that open communication. So we're growing together.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yes, I
what?
think of it as like I'm the big tree and then I'm sprouting a little tree beside me and
Yes.
we're just both growing together.
Yes, like your little plant in the back,
Yeah,
right? Those
exactly.
little,
My
yes.
bamboo plant.
Oh, yes, that is the story behind that bamboo plant. We'll have to talk about another time. All right,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So go ahead. So what took place next, Nicole?
Yeah, so I guess we'll just jump right into high school. I mean, grade junior high, 7, 8, 9, it was very tumultuous, but things really started going downhill in even farther in high
Mm,
school.
right.
So in grade 10, it's a new world being in high school and having all this even more freedom than before, and being older, around even older kids. So grade 10, I really started partying hard. And, I had a group of people around me that I really enjoyed hanging out with. And while yes, we weren't really doing the best acts, I felt that belonging between the group of us, and it did feel really incredible. So I finally started feeling like, yeah, like I got this. I'm in taking international baccalaureate classes in grade 10, but I was also doing, whatever I was doing on the side. So again, doing my schoolwork, but I was starting to fall behind, of course, because I'm skipping classes and, smoking a lot more weed during school and doing drugs that,
Yes.
were not necessary. Um, and Now in grade 10, um, this is when I started, using a lot more, as I mentioned, and my mom caught on to it. And she eventually said enough is enough because I was getting very combative with her and, skipping so much school. And she knew that this was not good for my future. And so eventually she said, you need to go to rehab. And
So those
so
were the signs that she noticed, Nicole. Those were the signs you skipping a lot of school.
skipping a lot of school, being combative, and just, not listening. I wouldn't come home at night, or I would, sneak out of the house. All of these,
So these are the signs, moms and dads. These are the
yeah,
signs of something that are setting alerts that something's
yeah,
wrong with my child. These are some of the signs that Nicole's given to us today to look for if your child is going through stuff like this. These are some signs these are red flags that you can start
yeah,
looking into. Go ahead.
absolutely.
Thank you, Nicole.
And so when she sent me into this rehab, it was just a day program. I'd go there, come home in the evening, and it was really great. I did enjoy it there. I don't think it really solved, or it definitely did not resolve what I needed to resolve. Despite the therapy and all of that it was included within it, because after the program, I just went back into the same old habits and hanging around with the same old people. And so I spent the summer after that program. Initially, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do great. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do anything. And then a few weeks later, I'm like, yeah, why don't I just smoke a little bit of weed? It's all good, just a little bit. And then I was like, oh, what's a little bit of alcohol? And then, oh, what's a little bit of cocaine? And oh, what's a little bit of this? And what's a little bit of that?
Right.
Just again, going back into the same old habits.
Right.
Um, so then the summer, it just flew by because that's all I was doing was partying and,
Right.
sneaking out, just right back into it. And then I started grade 11, and grade 11, I started at this different school. It was kind of like a self-led program where I just go through like modules and teach myself kind of thing. We called it like an outreach program.
Okay.
And then just in the beginning of that, I think it was like September, October, my mom's like, oh, yeah, we got to move again. I'm like, here we go again.
Oh man.
Here we go again. So we had to move
Yeah.
back to the place that we had already moved from, Calgary, where I'm at now, actually. And so we moved back to Calgary, just me and my mom. My brother and my sister stayed in Edmonton where we lived.
Okay.
And then yeah, so it's just my mom and I, and here I am starting out another brand new school, meeting brand new people. And at this time I had like a bus pass, where I can just, get on the train, go throughout
Yes.
Calgary, whatever I want to do.
Yes.
So I started meeting new people, and I was going to school, doing well for a little while. And then of course I started getting into the same types of groups of people that I was hanging out with
Right. Of
previous.
course. Yes.
So and here we are going to parties and going to college parties, and it felt great because I was like, yeah, I'm belonging again. Yay, like I have
Right.
friends.
Yes. Yes.
But right back into the same habits of sneaking out or not coming home at all
Right.
after hanging out with a friend, or just lying to my mom all the time. And here's my mom, she's working really hard.
Yes.
She's trying to support me, and even, supporting my brother and sister back up north.
Yes.
And again, we just did not have that connection that we needed.
Right.
And I don't I want to say that I'll never blame my mom for anything. Like, I understand that she was going through her own things and really just doing the best that she could have.
Right.
And I've had these conversations with her as well. She does feel bad about what happened here on after all of this,
Hmm.
but again, I never blame her.
Right.
And so I think that that's really important. Even as a parent, like, never blame yourself. There are obviously things that we can do better as parents,
Yes.
but even still, like, don't put that blame on yourself because
Right.
it'll just make you feel worse.
Right. Right. It's not going
Yeah,
to solve anything. What's done, it's done.
yeah, exactly.
But learn from, if you're out there and then this is resonating with you, start the communication process right away. Because
Yeah,
if you don't know anything because you're blinded by your own problems or the things that you're going through, get help, especially when you have kids around. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your children to keep the communication open.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so then after this, I'll talk about the big incident that we talked about last time.
Well, what happened is, as Nicole's getting older, she is now 16.
Yes, 16.
Yes. And then you
Or
talk.
sorry, no, 15,
Are
15
you?
at
Oh,
this
yeah, you're
time.
15 because
Yeah,
it's a week before you
15.
turn. It's 1 week before you turn 16, correct, Nicole?
1 week before I turned 16, I met the father of my daughter. But the big incident that happened even before that was it was at a college party with a friend, and I met this guy, and we were hanging out. And after this party, we met up again another time, and we were in his car outside of his house, and he's like, "Oh, I have this drug. It's called GHB." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what that is, but here, let's take it." So if you think of like one of those like orange crush bottles, just like, the regular size, it was about an inch from the bottom of the GHB. And for those who don't know, GHB is the date rape drug. And I had no idea how much I needed to take. I didn't ask him how much I needed to take. He definitely shouldn't have given it to me anyways, but um I just drank the entire whatever was in the bottle. And then after I was done, I just like taking a shot of alcohol, And after I was done, he's like, "Oh, how much did you take?" And I was like, "Oh, just, I swigged the rest of it." And he was like, "Oh, that is not good. Like, you're only supposed to take a capful." And I was like, "Oh, alrighty then." He's like, "Let's just get you inside." And I was like, "Okay." And so we get inside and we're just, hanging out watching a movie. But the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital with tubes down my throat. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what happened. I don't know anything about anything. I just know that I have these tubes in my throat. And I see my mom sitting in the corner crying. And so then I guess doctors and nurses come in and they take the tubes out, and they were like, do you know what happened? And I said, no. Like, I don't even know if I was talking, but I shook my head no. And they said, do you remember where you were or anything? And I said, no. Like, why am I here? What's going on? And the doctor said, well, you took a lot of drugs, enough to kill 350-pound men, and your heart stopped for over half a minute. And I said, like, I had no idea about any of this. Like, I don't know, couldn't remember what I did the night before or how I even got there. But all I knew is that I was damn lucky to be alive.
And Nicole, the thing that was so crazy about this is that he didn't tell you. He told you what he was giving you, but he didn't explain to you what it was.
Yeah.
He was there literally to rape you.
Yeah, and I had no idea about it at all. During the time when I was out, I was in the hospital recovering. I think it was for about a week or two, and I did start to remember what happened while my heart stopped. And at that time, um, I think of when you hear about people talking about the light, you go into the light. What I experienced was very similar to that, really. And I essentially was in this beautiful, warm, like, it just everything felt so loving and so incredible. Very euphoric is the best way I can explain it. And so here I am in this light, and I'm walking, and I see my grandpa. And my grandpa had passed away at when I was 12 years old. And I tell my grandpa, and I was like, let me come home with you. And he says, it's not your time yet. And then at that time, that's when I returned back to the blackness. And then, of course, I woke up. Um, and then while I was recovering in the hospital, the doctors had asked me, oh, do you want to do a rape kit? And I was like, no, no, it's okay. Like, I made this decision. I'm the one who took the drugs, and don't worry. Like, I don't want to press charges or anything like that. And I don't regret that decision. But at the same time, too, like, now that I think back on it, like, I probably should have, because this man was, you know, way older than me. Here I am, this 15-year-old girl hanging out with this adult man, and it was not a great situation to be in. Yeah, so heavy, heavy story for sure.
Yes, very, very heavy because this is what, Nicole, this is what people are going through right now as we speak.
Yeah.
People do not, a lot of people feel that they're alone, that they're the only one, but listening to you, you're able to educate them, to help them get through this time, and to have understanding that you're not alone. But
No.
don't, before you step into this, if you're going in this direction, stop yourself and ask for help.
Yes, that's the biggest thing, is never be afraid to ask for help. I wish
Because
I was brave enough to do so.
I think, especially when you have went two adults and you felt like it was just basically a dead end there.
Yeah.
And then a lot of young people today, they feel that way, especially me working and doing the work that I do in education and working with family and children in middle school. So I see the kids, what they're doing, and the marijuana is serious since they legalized it here. And the kids are just going crazy with these vape pens. And it's and listening, and we all know that everything starts just with the marijuana.
Yeah.
And then it's like a ripple effect from other drugs. You go from this thing, and then all these other doors open to all these different drugs. So now
Yeah,
you have a young drug addict. You have a
absolutely.
person that's young, and when they're young, it's even harder to deal with even getting off of these drugs. And they'll be able to hear the rest of your story and how they can make that turn. But to know that it takes a long time, Nicole.
It does. It really does. And especially when the children are not able to understand kind of where they're at or even where to go, that is the toughest thing. Because for me, like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me at that time. And, it's tough because when you don't understand that there's something wrong with you or there's something going wrong inside of you that's
Yes.
causing you to do all these things, it's really hard to get out of that. And sometimes they just really need that support to help them identify what's going on outside the box.
Right. And and when you're in that group of people, because you, like you said, you had finally you found these people, these groups of people where you felt like you belonged, that
Yeah,
even makes it harder.
totally. Because you get so attached to those people, and that's a whole nother thing, talking about attachments and the whole attachment theory. But with not having any attachment to myself, my own family, and now I'm like super dependent and on these people that I have
Okay,
a
Nicole, wait, I gotta
relationship with.
stop you really quickly.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming right back on. So just stay with us. Nicole, let's hang up here and we're gonna do a part two.
Okay, great. Thank
Okay,
you.
Nicole, I'll see you in a second.
Yeah.
Bye. Yes, please. We're sending you another link, Nicole.
Okay.
Okay. Good job, Nicole.